Hello. Thank you for joining this training. There is definitely a reason you're here, and I can assure you it is because you need to improve the quality of your sleep. Sorry about my little face at the start there. I don't know if that was recorded or not, but basically while it starts recording, before it starts recording, it actually starts recording, so you never know when it's actually recording. Don't know if that makes sense. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna have to cut this cut this first little bit of my babble out if I'm gonna put this up as a training. Awesome, we are live. Welcome along. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are here, this means that you probably need to get more sleep. I can almost guarantee you none of us are getting enough sleep and good quality sleep, and you're also possibly wanting this to complement your weight loss, or that your weight loss has been hindered because of your lack of quantity and quality of sleep. And for some of you who come to me, you're like, but Bianca, I work this amount of hours. I'm also a mum. I also do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. I can't get sleep. I won't get enough sleep. I guarantee you, if you were to implement everything that we are going to talk about today, if you are going to work with your lifestyle and implement as much of what we can, not even necessarily everything, but implement as much of what I'm going to talk about today, I guarantee you, you will have a significant increase in the quality and quantity of sleep. No doubt whatsoever. I had a client who was only with me for 3 months, Jem. I don't know if Jem is still in here. If she is, I'll tag her. But Jem came to me and said, I have not slept all the way through the night for 9 years. For 9 years. It took, was it 9 years or a decade? I think she said a decade. And after a couple of weeks, we implemented everything that I'm going to teach you today and more. And she slept all the way through 7 hours, 7 hours, 9 hours. She was like, oh my God, I've not slept in a decade. And it was just because we looked at what she was doing, shifted it, changed it to work for her lifestyle, which is what I want you guys to do with this information, and then implemented it. And it was the implementation of this learning that actually got her all the way through the night. So without further ado, this is super important. Please listen, because it will change your life, I guarantee you. So this episode is why snooze you lose is a crock of shit, and how to get more in order to lose weight, right? So first of all, I just want to say what you perceive is not what is actually true. Okay, so for an example, I was having a conversation with one of my clients the other day, and we were looking back at what she put down as her general marker for her sleep before she started, and what she did after at the end of her program. The difference in the numbers was very minimal. Okay, beforehand she thought that she had really good sleep, but today or yesterday she knew she had bad sleep before, but she still marked it down as the same number, oblivious to her what the previous number was. So what you perceive is not what actually what is true or what you do. So you might think right now, I already get enough sleep, I already get good quality sleep. No thanks, Bianca, I don't need this training. But I can guarantee you, if you're stuck with weight loss, this is going to be one of the key fundamental factors. Guys, if you don't know what my key fundamental factors are, drop in the comments below, say fundamental, and I will explain to you or point you in the direction of the main pillars of health. This is one of those. If you don't get this nailed down, you're going to be struggling for good quality health and good quality weight loss. It is a huge contributing factor, and I'll explain why. So just be open to the fact that what you already do and what you already know might not be completely accurate. You might not necessarily realize that what you're doing is hindering and not helping. So be open as we go through this video training. And if you've got any comments or anything, just let me know in the comments box below. If you've got any questions, please pop them in here as well. I just got a lot of people going, yeah, my sleep is really shit. I've got poor quality sleep. But not many people actually asking questions or telling me why your sleep is bad. So if that's one of you, please let me know in the comments below. Okay, so to start with, hunger is pretty much controlled by two hormones that get released, leptin and ghrelin. Okay, you don't need to necessarily know all this, but leptin is pretty much that satiation signal, the signal that says, okay, I'm full, I've had enough, thank you, I'm done. Ghrelin is the opposite. Ghrelin is like the little gremlin inside you that says, I'm hungry, let's eat more. Okay, so with these two hormones, take this information as you will, whatever you need to, I don't mind. But just know that your hormone, ghrelin, has probably been released when you are hungry. So that is kind of the science that's going on in your brain. Probably doesn't make much of a difference, but I wanted to let you know, if I did mention it, leptin is a satiation signal that signals to your brain saying, I'm done, and ghrelin says I'm hungry. Now the thing is that ghrelin is actually impacted by a lack of sleep. In fact, they're both impacted by a lack of sleep. And what they do is they get exaggerated. So more ghrelin gets released when you have a lack of sleep, and less leptin gets released when you have a lack of sleep. Okay, so less of that satiation signal, which means that you need to eat more in order for your brain to release enough leptin. You need to eat more in order to your brain to release less ghrelin. Does that make sense? Now, people who sleep less than 7 hours, or even less than what they personally, individually need, can consume between 200 to 300 calories on average with snacks alone after they have eaten a full meal. So this is just an average, but it was a study that was done. So on average, you can easily consume 200 to 300 calories, and I would say even more with a pint of ice cream, calories after eating a full meal, feeling full just from snacking, because you had less than 7 hours sleep the night before. Now, it is really worthy to note as well that humans are the only animals whatever you want to call us. Some of the people I know, I would say animals. Humans are the only animals that intentionally reduce the sleep they get. Others sleep when they're tired. We are the only species that postpone sleep, that pushes our bodies to the max and influences it. Yes, we have a huge difference in abilities and knowledge, but we are the only ones that do not just sleep when we need to sleep. Just know that. When I realized that, I was like, that's true. We are the only species that are trying to push that alertness, that awakeness, as far as we can possibly push it. We are the only species that pushes our bodies and our boundaries and our abilities beyond what is healthy, right? Now, according to a study, participants that underslept but were limited to about 4 or 5 hours of sleep for several nights would experience a 33% increase in the desire to eat obesogenic sugary treats. So what I mean by that is ice cream, chocolate, chips. 33% increase in the desire. In addition, they will suffer a 30% increase in craving for heavy-hitting carbohydrates like pasta and pizza, and a 45% increased desire for salty snacks. In other words, when you are starved of sleep, you feel starved, and your brain tends to default to these foods that are high in fat, sugar, and salt, calorie-dense foods, because your brain is going, shit, I need to stay alive. I need to stay alive as long as possible. Okay, and what is actually happening here is your body is or your brain is releasing this ghrelin because it needs you to eat. Now, from an evolutionary, I always get that word wrong. From an evolutionary perspective, your brain is saving you, because if you can just carry on by eating something and fueling, then you'll have enough time and energy to get you to a place of safety or where there is more food. So it serves a purpose, right? Now, just before we get into like how you can improve the quantity and quality of sleep, I really, really want to hit these facts home, because it really does go to show why sleep impacts your weight, right? So another study showed that the prefrontal cortex, the main part of the brain, which is responsible for impulse control, was shut down by a lack of sleep. So shifting to a pattern of activity associated with hedonic eating, in other words, impulsive eating, right? As a result, the very primitive deep brain regions that drive excessive appetite become hyperactive. They become hyper responsive to highly desirable foods, as we know, again, unhealthy, very extremely refined, processed foods. Sorry, mind blank. It happens all the time. Processed foods, right? These unhealthy processed foods, such as ice cream, donuts, cakes, brownies, chocolate, crisps, rather than stuff that is going to actually give us energy, because our brain has associated these foods with energy. So rather than foods like nuts, leafy greens, berries, these would be a much better shout that when you're hungry. But oh no, the brain's going, I know what you need. You need some croissants. No thanks, brain. No, that is not what I need. Dieting while sleep deprived becomes ineffective without sleep. If you are dieting and you do not get enough sleep every single night, it is 60% of the pounds that you will lose comes from lean body mass, i.e. muscle, not fat. Specifically, when you're sleep deprived, the body becomes stubborn and it refuses to give up fat, because again, it needs to protect you. So in other words, you end up losing what you want to keep, which is the muscle, and you keep what you want to lose, which is the fat. Dieting while sleep deprived is pointless. Inadequate sleep increases levels of cortisol, guys. Now, have you ever seen anyone walking around with, or maybe this happens to yourself, excess weight just around the belly? Maybe arms are toned, legs are toned or slim, and there's just an excess of weight around the belly. Well, cortisol is a stress hormone, right? And when cortisol is chronically released, it makes your body store food as fat. And primarily, it stores around the midsection of your belly. Okay. Now, we might think, oh, well, I just have an alcoholic drink, or I just do this thing or that thing to help me get to sleep. What doesn't work is alcohol and THC. Now, alcohol, among other things, of course, but these are the main things that we would think as a sedative. Alcohol actually hurts your sleep in at least 3 different ways, right? One, it sedates your brain rather than generating like a natural sleep. So it's just like, okay, go to sleep now. And your brain's like, oh, okay. Number 2, it increases the frequency of nighttime awakenings. So basically, you're waking up much more in the middle of the night, and it makes it harder to fall back to sleep then. And when you do fall back to sleep, alcohol actually inhibits REM sleep. So REM is the particular sleep stage that we need about 4 or 5 of them a night for it to be enough of a good quality sleep. And when we are in REM, what happens is your brain is able to clear out all the junk, clear out all the crap. So throughout the day, we're looking around, we're absorbing information that gets generated, and out the other end of that generation is just toxic crap. At night, when we're going through our REM stage, your brain is cleaning all of that out. Otherwise, we get that toxin buildup, the metabolic buildup in our brain, which then reduces our ability to concentrate for our memory. And of course, as we've discussed, our desire, it increases our desire for those crappy foods that make us feel blah and don't help us with weight loss. So I know by now you're probably thinking, Bianca, can you actually just shut up and tell me how to improve the quality of my sleep? Thank you. So the two main things to help with your sleep is quality and quantity. So you need to be looking at these equally. Without good quality sleep, you're not going to get into those REM stages, so it's pretty useless. But without enough quantity sleep, you're not going to get enough of those REM stages, so it's quite useless. So saying, oh yeah, but when I sleep, I'm like in a real deep sleep. So literally saying, oh, I get 5 hours of sleep, but it's really deep, so it's really good quality sleep. It's not enough for enough stages of REM. You might feel slightly refreshed, but over time, your likelihood of heart disease, heart attack, my mind's gone completely blank, asthma, my mind's gone completely blank, but it basically drives you to sickness and illness if you're not getting enough quality and quantity sleep. I'm so sorry, my mind's just gone completely blank and went off choo-choo on the train. If you're one of my clients, you know this happens with me all the time. So we need to be looking at increasing your quality and quantity sleep, okay? So I had some questions about this, about waking up in the middle of the night. Okay, so sure, you can get about 8-9 hours of good quantity sleep, but if you're waking up in the middle of the night, that might be affecting the quality of your sleep. If you're being woken up by something else, an external factor, maybe it could be trains, kids, an animal, a disturbance in the neighborhood. If you are being woken up, that is not in your control. So that is nothing that I can do. I can't really tell you, okay, well, or you could move house, you could move neighborhoods, you could you can listen to some music to drown out the noise of your neighbors, or Sheila, drown out the noise of your neighbors, or move away from the train tracks, right? I can't help that if you are being woken up during your sleep. That is something that you need to look at to improve the quality of your sleep. Now, if you turn around still and say to me in the comments, oh, I can't do that, but I'm still being woken up, fine, we'll go through and we'll work out what's going on. But why are you waking up? What is spurring you on to wake up? Do you need the toilet? If so, it's unlikely that you can do much else about needing the toilet apart from increasing the strength of your bladder throughout the day and making sure you reduce your liquids before the lead up of going to sleep, and avoid caffeine after at least about midday. Okay, again, there's not much I can do about this. If you need to wee, you need to wee. You were talking about the queen of weeers. I have been on the wait list for a urologist so if you're not from the UK, NHS is kind of our healthcare system. If you want anything done, you have to wait 3 years. So I've been on a urologist wait list for 3 years, and they've only just started doing something about it. So, you know, I am getting up about 2 or 3 times, but I am still getting enough quality sleep, because those times that I'm waking up, I am coming out of that REM sleep in the awakened stage. And I know because I've tracked my sleep via my Fitbit. Okay. So I'm waking up when I'm not in that REM sleep, and I'm still dipping into about 4 or 5 of those cycles, which is really, really important. Why else might you be waking up? Are you waking up because your brain is going 100 miles an hour? Like, how do you wake up? You've, who was it that put this on the messages? It was, yes, Diana. So you mentioned that you keep waking up between 1 to 3 a.m. Again, why is that? What are you doing when you wake up? Folks, if you're waking up and going on your phone and maybe updating your status and saying, oh, can't sleep, go, leave, walk out the door. No, if you are waking up and you are activating your brain and you are doing stuff which requires more than lying there with your eyes closed or going to the toilet and then coming back to bed, then you are intentionally activating the brain. Now, if you, for example, wake up at, let's say, for example, if you wake up at 1 a.m. every single night and you switch the TV on, you switch the phone on, or you go and read a book, or you do something that's not forcefully lying there and keeping your eyes closed, then your brain is going to get into the pattern of waking up and then going back to sleep, right? If you think about it, new mums get into the habit of falling asleep when they can. They get into the habit of that. If you get into the habit of waking up at 1 a.m. because a few nights in a row you got woken up, and then you go on your phone or you create some sort of engagement in your brain, you are going to constantly be waking up. The only way to break that is, I'm sorry, bite the bullet and stay in bed. I don't know what your main issue was there, Diana, as like I would love to have gotten you on and say, what was actually waking you up? What was keeping you up? But the main rule is, guys, if you are waking up and it's not to pee, you carry on lying there. You carry on lying there with your eyes closed. Imagine telling a kid that they can't open their Christmas presents before they wake up in the morning. And what do you tell them? Go and lie in bed and keep your eyes closed. And as a kid, you're like, oh my God, like I barely keep my eyes closed. But you've got to do that forcefully to yourself. Otherwise you give in. And every single time your brain will go, oh, well, we're going to give in anyway. So let's get up. Let's start planning our day. Let's start thinking. Let's start worrying. Let's start stressing. So, ways to increase the quality of sleep is, well, if you're waking up, don't use your phone. Don't do any other stimulating activities. If you need the toilet, strip your liquids back and your caffeine consumption back. So don't forget that caffeine is in fizzy drinks, it's in most teas, it's in coffee. Even in decaffeinated coffee, there's still caffeine in there. And you might be someone who's sensitive to caffeine. There are very few people that are actually not as sensitive to caffeine, but scientifically, this percent of people is very small. A lot of people think that caffeine doesn't affect them. In fact, most caffeine drinkers think that caffeine doesn't affect them. But I can 100% guarantee you it is working some chemical storm. Let's just not swear on that one. It is working a chemical storm inside your brain, inside your body. Now, it's not enough to increase the quality of sleep. Hang on a minute. Yeah, so before I go on to that, women, before I tell you how many hours of sleep that you need, which I've already done, I'm going to tell you a couple of ways to increase the quality of your sleep and quantity of sleep, okay? So oh God, sorry, I've just flicked over my page and the intro picture for this video is a doozy. Okay, so how do you increase the quality of your sleep? Well, increasing the quality and quantity kind of goes hand in hand. But here is a list. Get out your pen and paper. Practice regular sleep rhythms. Practice regular sleep rhythms. The more often you go to bed and wake up at the same time, the better. It's easy for your body to get into a natural circadian rhythm where you're going to sleep and waking up at the same time. After a few months of trying out a new sleep pattern, for example, going to bed earlier and waking up earlier, it becomes easier. It's habitual. Your brain gets used to it. It knows exactly what it's supposed to do. So if you are looking to go to sleep earlier or wake up earlier, you are creating a new sleep rhythm, in which case give yourself time and grace to work into it. Cut out all electronic devices. in the bedroom and usage. Now, you've probably heard of this one before. This one's pretty much flying around everywhere as far as I've seen on social media. But if you are still doing it and still wondering why you can't get enough sleep or good quality sleep, and you're still using an electronic device, phone, iPad, laptop, TV, at least an hour before you go to bed, there is no excuse for it. But also, of course you can't sleep. These things, these devices, they activate your brain, so your brain's staying awake because it is concentrating, it is absorbing information, it is still working. And two, it emits blue light. Blue light is what your brain uses to determine nighttime and daytime. So if you're getting up in the middle of the night and using your phone, or if you're using your phone an hour before you go to bed, or within an hour before bed, your brain has registered that and is not releasing melatonin. Now, melatonin is the hormone that releases and helps you get to sleep. Naturally, it gets released around about 11 p.m. on average, which is why you always want to be in bed and asleep by 11 to ensure that it lasts a decent amount of time. Now, if you are using your devices before then, you are going to interrupt the release of that hormone and really struggle to get a good sleep. Okay. I hope you guys are listening. I hope you're still here, because freaking hell, this will change your life. You can create total darkness and quiet in your room. Avoid caffeine, as I said, and alcohol. Avoiding caffeine, reduce it back bit by bit, week by week, cup by cup, until you're no longer either having caffeine or you don't have it past midday. Guys, there's loads of other ways in which you can improve your quantity and quality of sleep, but also getting outside, and double whammy it. Get outside and have exercise. We all know that exercise is going to increase your desire to sleep. It makes you tired. It makes you worn out, right? And exposing yourself to sun then creates that drastic daytime to nighttime, the lights off effect that I was just talking about. So the more sun exposure you get, as soon as it gets dark at night, your body starts winding down and to release melatonin to get you to sleep. So exercising as well, making sure you get some time outside, at least 20 minutes outside, at least exercising for 45 minutes a day. All of these things are going to help contribute, okay? But the main thing that I want you to do, I've got a whole list of things right in front of me, right? Whole list of things. If you want this list of things, how to get to sleep, how to sleep better, let me know. Just write how to in the comments below and I'll send it to you. But the best way to offload your brain, to unwind, is journaling. Yes, we've all heard it before, but do we stick to it? Probably not. If you wake up in the middle of the night, Diana, and your brain is going 100 miles an hour, that is because you haven't given yourself time to unwind and de-stress throughout the day. By journaling, you can offload and brain dump. So what happens is your brain has all of this information built up throughout the day. It stores it. Now, information can be dates. It could be feelings and emotions. It can be experiences. It can be unresolved words that weren't spoken. Everything that's going on can be built up, and your brain tries to store onto it as much as it can, right? We can't intentionally forget something. Imagine if I said to you, intentionally forget the yellow elephant, right? Tomorrow you're gonna go, oh, for fuck's sake, yellow elephant. That's what you told me to intentionally forget. Over a long period of time, you'll probably forget. But we don't intentionally forget, so we hold on to this stuff. If you don't brain dump and get rid of it, your brain can't then start working to rewrite that space on that space. Journaling is one of the most powerful and impactful things that you can do. And I get all of my clients, all of them, I hound every single one of them to journal because it makes the biggest of differences, okay? Offloading everything into your journaling. So ways to increase the quantity of your sleep. If you're someone who says, yeah, but Bianca, I can't get more than 7 hours of sleep. Well, either you get more than 7 hours of sleep, you schedule it in, you put your health first, or you face illness and disease. I'm sorry, but it is that black or white. I understand if you've got kids, and well, I don't have kids, so I can't empathize, but I can understand if you have kids. If you are going through bouts where waking up or not having enough sleep is really, really difficult, I understand that. But do what you can, where you can, to improve the quantity and quality of sleep. If you can't get up to or more than 7 hours worth of sleep at night, how can you improve the way that you get to sleep? How can you try and get to sleep quicker? Yeah, if you go to bed and you call that, like if you go to bed at 9 p.m. and you wake up at 6 a.m., I don't know, this is an example, but you don't actually fall asleep to 11, that's not sleeping. So you've got 7 hours worth of sleep, right? So how can you make that bedtime to sleep time shorter? How do you make that quicker? How do you shortcut that? Make it quicker, get to sleep quicker, get to sleep with a free mind, get to sleep feeling tired. Also, when you wake up and you feel tired, yeah, that's because you've just been sleeping for 8 hours. The best thing to wake up if you're feeling, regardless of whether you got a shit sleep or not, the best thing to do is gulp down a whole pint of water way before you touch coffee. Prolong that first coffee as late as you possibly can. There's science behind it. I'm not going to go into it now because I need a pee. There we go. Told you. So schedule your sleep into a calendar. Make it a non-negotiable, right? Put yourself first for once. Use alarms. Do you need to use an alarm to say, I need to go to bed? Nothing wrong with that. If you set an alarm and say, you need to go to bed in half an hour, start winding down, you're probably going to remember more than if you weren't setting an alarm. Set intentions, journal about it. My intention, this is my goal, this is my habit that I want to do. Say it out loud. This is my intention, this is goal, this is the habit that I want to do. Make it an intention, make it an intentional act. Okay, exercise for at least 45 minutes a day. I've said that. Turn off all devices. Yeah, again, try and reduce that brain stimulating environment and to make sure that you get to sleep earlier. One thing that I did want to cover before I go is supplementation. I hear everywhere, do I supplement? Should I supplement? What should I do? Supplementing melatonin has been proven to only be more impactful by 2.2%. So it's been proven to be only 2.2% more effective at improving your sleep. So you either switch the lights off sooner and get to bed in a dark environment, save money on electricity and save money on supplementation, or you stay up, keep the lights on as long as you can, pay for more electricity and pay for supplements. It's up to you. We know the importance of we know the importance of sleep. I've been through that. We know, why you can't lose weight while you're sleep deprived, why it is difficult mentally and physically, right? Physically, you're drained, your body is looking for some sort of energy. And usually it's a quick fix. It's whatever the brain sees and knows and recognizes to be a quick dose of sugar. Typically, sugary foods. It also is looking for salty foods and high calorie dense foods. Okay. And also the emotional element of it. We struggle to concentrate. We struggle to remember stuff. Guys, if you want my useful how to sleep tips, pop in the comments below. If you need anything, shoot me a message. I would love to know what you thought of this live, so please let me know. I am desperate to use the bathroom because I have been drinking so much water today. Just going to quickly check, make sure there's no questions that I didn't miss. No, awesome. Much love, peace and love. I'll see you next week. Bye.